Wait a minute, that's not right. Can the Bloodline use their guerrilla tactics to restore the destiny of SmackDown? And can LA Knight retain his US title as well? And lastly, can KO and Cody Rhodes coexist before they take on each other at Bash? Okay, in the news! In the news indeed, we had SmackDown Live from Washington, D.C. So we had a return to the Bloodline with things as normal, where Solo Sikoa said that Roman Reigns was D-O-N-E. Which was obviously great news, so things got back to normal. So Sikoa declared that he would be the next #1 contender to whoever wins between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And lastly, he told Jacob Fatu to give the tag team title to Tonga Loa, who has now recovered and no longer needed an eye patch, so that Fatu could be Sikoa's personal protector. Well, I guess that is an obvious sign that the Freebird rule is fully in effect for the Bloodline. But Angelo Dawkins and the others came out with Dawkins saying that it was now demotion season for the Bloodline and that they would take the tag team titles from them, echoing back when Roman Reigns declared that it was promotion season when he first made Solo Sikoa the tribal heir. Once we got to the match, we had the Street Profits taking control when Ford had an awesome reversal into a DDT, followed by both men landing a revelation, and then Dawkins pushing Tonga into Loa at ringside with Ford, following that up with his amazing flip onto the floor onto both men. But Solo Sikoa got involved at that point, yelling at Dawkins and then also distracting the ref. So Jacob Fatu, with his walking boots still on, landed a super kick onto both men and throwing Dawkins into the ring for Tonga to hit a flatliner and retain the title. This is indeed the first successful defense for the Bloodline, and Tonga and Loa in particular are 2-0 as a tag team in the WWE. For the Street Profits, this stopped their 3-match traditional tag winning streak, and they fall back under 500 at 4-5. But even worse for them, Sikoa told all the Bloodline members to attack them after the match, with all 4 beating down Dawkins and Ford before DIY could come in and make the save, which they did awfully well for a few moments. And when they set up to meet in the middle on Sikoa, well, Loa recovered and grabbed Gargano's legs, and Sikoa recovered and ended up landing a Samoan spike on both men. Well, with their impressive guerrilla tactics at work, it looks like SmackDown's destiny has been restored. So in our other title match, we had LA Knight defend the United States Championship against Santos Escobar. In typical Legado del Fantasma fashion, Angel and Berto grabbed Knight's legs during the ring introductions and continued to attack him at ringside before the ref finally ejected both men. So Elektra Lopez could not help herself and she yelled at the referee as well, and so she was also ejected, leaving Escobar to himself. Using his advantage from that early beatdown, Escobar was able to land a double knee on Knight on top of the announce table and hit a frog splash. But Knight was eventually able to overcome Escobar, landing his leaping elbow drop off of the top rope and then hitting the BFT to retain the title. This is also Knight's first successful title defense, and he's won 4 matches in a row, going to 9-3 in all one-on-one matches. For Escobar, this was surprisingly his first title shot since September of 2023, even though he had won 6 out of his last 7 matches. But even with this loss, he is still 7-4 in one-on-one action. After the match, however, Knight talked to Saxton backstage, and Knight issued an open challenge for the US title next week in Berlin. We also had a couple other tag matches on the card, with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens teaming up to take on A-Town Down Under, which was set up when Kevin Owens interrupted the Grayson Waller effect after Waller showed several clips showing Owens turning on his friends. Well, KO and Rhodes were not exactly on the same page throughout this one, as early on, KO couldn't make a tag to Rhodes when Rhodes was distracted by Theory. And later on in the match, the roles were reversed when Rhodes could not make the save when KO was distracted by Waller. Eventually, however, KO did get the tag, and he clotheslined and senton both men at ringside before getting Waller back inside the ring to land a senton, which Theory broke up, but he then paid for it when Rhodes landed a crossroads on him, which allowed KO to hit a super kick and a pop-up powerbomb to get the win. Well, for KO and Rhodes, this was their second consecutive win over A-Town Down Under, so they are 2-0. But for A-Town Down Under, they've now lost 5 out of their last 6, starting with their title loss in July. So they dropped further under 500 at 4-7 in traditional tags. Lastly, we had a 6-woman tag match featuring Fire, Dawn, and Blair Davenport against the big 3 of Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. Blair meshed well, showing surprising chemistry with Fire and Dawn, leaving Bianca trapped in the corner of the ring for several minutes, which was highlighted by Isla putting in a tarantula and landing a double knees on Bianca, as well as Blair hitting a double stomp that wasn't quite able to put Bianca away. Once Bianca made that tag, Jade and Naomi took turns wreaking havoc on all of their competitors, with Naomi finishing it off with what Corey Graves called a comeback kick and her patented split-legged moonsault to get some revenge from last week and pin Blair. For the big 3, this was their first match since their WrestleMania win, so they are 2-0, and of course this was just the first match for Fire, Dawn, and Blair as a threesome. But we expect that they will not get another chance to do so, as it was announced that Fire and Dawn will have to defend their tag team titles against Bianca and Jade at Bash in Berlin. Beyond the mat for SmackDown, we had Andrade interrupting Carmelo Hayes, who just so happened to be dissing Andrade at the time inside a barbershop, with Andrade calling Hayes' actions last week after the match to be disrespectful to him, so they will again have another match next week. Well, we also saw Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews laughing at Legado del Fantasma after Escobar's loss, so Escobar says that he will take care of it next week. And lastly, we saw Tiffy and Pretty Deadly try to put Nia's crown back together after Michin attacked all of them in the ring last week, but then Nia heard Chelsea and Piper yet again saying that Tiffy would turn on Nia to try to cash in on her. Nia, of course, said she was not in the mood to hear any of it as she gets ready to face Michin next week for the title. And with that, let's go to STFs. On this week's STFs, order was restored to normal, so we start with the Bloodline edition, where Sikoa ordered the other Bloodline members to attack the Street Profits after the match and then also attack DIY, so Sikoa, Tonga, Loa, and Fatu all pick up fines. Legado del Fantasma was also up to their normal tricks, so Angel and Berto took out Knight before the bell before the title match, and Angel, Berto, and Elektra all got ejected, so all 3 of them will get 1-week suspensions. And we want to note that Kevin Owens will not pick up an STF for attacking Grayson Waller and Austin Theory during the Grayson Waller effect, because Nick Aldis declared the match first to be the main event and then told Owens that it was okay for him to attack. With Roman Reigns being DONE, the Bloodline restored order to SmackDown and defended the tag team titles. LA Knight also defended his title, but issued an open challenge for next week. And it appears that KO and Cody Rhodes are mostly on the same page as they look to battle each other at Bash in Berlin. I'm Dr. O'Kay reporting on the WWE, where everything is run.